want to share something the Lord showed me today. So I was talking with somebody that, I know from work, a friend from work, and he was telling me about his phone service. Now, I have been looking for a phone service, kind of a decent one that had unlimited data, a good service where I live and where I go visit my husband, like on the way. Like, I need the service to be good as we're driving, because I don't need it to go out and be like, you ain't got no service and stuff like that. And I also wanted unlimited data. Now, I've always stuck with like a mainstream provider like AT&T, Verizon. Really, I've only done AT&T and Verizon. I've never done Sprint or what's another one? T-Mobile. I have done T-Mobile when I was younger. And I wanted to kind of stick with those brand names out of, I don't know, out of commitment, and out of feeling like I would be less than if I went, like my service would be less than if I went and got a non-mainstream service. So I was talking with him at work, and he was telling me, I was telling him the problems that I was having with AT&T, and how my phone, something janky happened with my phone, and so it kind of messed with my service and stuff like that. And he was like, well, why don't you do something, he said. And then I asked him, well, who are you with? And he said he was with Metro PCS. So I'm like, okay, well, what's that? And he told me about it. And when I went back to work, I was kind of looking it up, and I like the idea of having Metro PCS. Like, it seems like the perfect thing for me, for my situation. I travel every month to go see my husband. I need that good service. That whole service map looked good for the area. Their service map went exactly the way we were driving. Good service the whole time. It was like one part that was like kind of shaky, but it was only like for like 30 miles. So I went with that. So I wanted to say that let's get away from the pride of life. The pride of life is having a certain status in life, having a certain feeling like you have to be of a certain position. You can only go with certain things because you want to be looking like you just got it together. You want to be looking like you have the best and stuff like that. You don't have to have the best. And what I mean by that is, like, sometimes we want to look so like we got it all together. We want to look like we got the best phone service, the nicest car. We use the best gas. We want people to know that we put extra effort into the things that we do. When that's actually the pride of life, and we can get caught up into that. The pride of life will have us trying to keep up with the Joneses. The pride of life will have us trying to get the best phone, $600 phone. The pride of life will have us trying to drive the fanciest car, get the popping tags with the name brand tags. But we have to really have a sound mind and thinking about the things that we get or do to make sure that we're not doing them out of the need to please others, to please our own thoughts of what life should be like. We have to make sure that we're lining up with the Word of God and having a sound mind. Now, I cannot afford I really can't afford for my phone line to be getting messed with like that. So I'm deciding to go over to Metro PCS. I got to find out some more information about it as far as like what phones I can use. But the service seemed like it was on point, and I was so caught up with I was so caught up with the fact that I thought it had to be Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, Sprint, that I didn't realize that I was suffering by trying to keep up with that name, keep up with that standard. So, and this don't just apply to phone service. It applies to anything in life, like anything in any area. If you get so caught up on clothes and have to have a designer clothes, and everybody always use the clothes and shoes and car, house example, because that's the most things that everybody need or have. So if you always popping tags and it got to be the freshest, and you don't want to be seen in nothing less than $10, that's called the pride of life. If you feel like you gotta have the best of the best, that's not just a pride of life too. That's sometimes the lust of the flesh, something that you want so bad that the Lord is telling you don't need, or something you want so bad that you really don't need, but you just want it because you feel like you will have reached that point, or you just want it because your flesh is lusting for it. It's not something you need, but you feel like you desire it so strongly that you just want it. That's lust. So that was the first thing I wanted to talk about. The second thing I wanted to talk about, about the lusty flesh pride of life. Income tax season is coming, and I was about to be tempted to buy this super expensive phone. Like, again, it's about the pride of life. And instead of before I get my income tax, I haven't got it yet, but I made a list of everything that I want to do with the income tax so I can have the best possible way to use it, make sure I'm using it wisely and everything. So I wrote down a list. I talked to my husband, and we had agreed on some stuff that we were going to do with it. So I already got a list of stuff that I want to do with it. Now, I know it's going to be coming soon, so I started thinking like, I might as well get this phone because my niece switching phone service. I want the nicest phone. Oh, I might as well do this. I want a nice little watch. No, that is not having a sound mind. That's walking right out of the sound mind that God gave me. Me and my husband, we sat down, we talked about it. I made a list. I need to use it on those things. Be wise with your income tax money. Be wise with your check from your job. Be wise with your check. If you get SSI, be wise with it. If you get any kind of disability, be wise with it. Be wise with the money that you're getting in. Be wise if you just got that new promotion. Be wise with the new hourly wage you have. Be wise with your yearly wage. Don't waste it. Money is to get things done, not to just splurge and ball out. That's a lot of things we do wrong, especially in the African American community. I can't speak for everybody else, but I know in the African American community we get so caught up on money and things and stuff like that. But not even the African American community. People do that, period. I see it everywhere. Everybody does it in some way or another. But yeah, that's what I want to talk about. And also I want to talk about word of mouth. When I was in school, we talked about ways to get information out there, like ways to get ways to get advertisements out there. It'd be like word of mouth, you actually telling somebody, and then it would be like besides you actually telling somebody, would be like the bandwagon approach where everybody else is doing it, I might as well do it. And then there was some other kind of approaches, but I specifically want to talk about the word of mouth approach. When we preach in Christ, it's not going to always be through a devotional that somebody's going to get saved, or always through your text messages about the Lord that they're going to get saved. Yeah, that helps along the way, or nothing like that, but sometimes it just got to be straight up word of mouth. Now, I'm not saying that if you open up your mouth and minister to somebody, they're gonna get saved that night. I'm not saying that, because we know God does the increase, and God reveals stuff to his people, or to people that to the, you know, the people that are away from God. He shows them his goodness, and he puts it on their heart, and he changes their heart to believe, to receive him, and to know that he is real. Only God can do that. We plant one, water, God do the increase, so we know that. But the other thing about that is we have to be saying it by word of mouth. They have to hear somebody they know, somebody they respect talking about the Lord, and not just preaching the gospel per se, like Christ died on the cross for your sin, but preaching how the gospel has changed their life, helping them to realize that they need to be grateful in life, and they don't need to be caught up with the worldly things and the worldly, you know, mindset, the pride of life and all that stuff. So that's, again, make sure that you're being good and you're standing before the Lord, so he can keep you in a place where you're in right standing with him. I ain't say perfect, I said right standing with him. So that because even when you mess up, that can glorify God too. When you mess up and you run back to the Lord, that glorifies God too. So make sure that we live in this thing and speaking this thing and speaking about how God changed our life, because it's the people that's closest to us. Some people that we only talk to once or twice may be like, dang, that girl is really changed. She's really serving the Lord. I need some of that. So I need me some Jesus, okay? Because I know when I started, I saw like the peace that people had. They wasn't tripping. Jesus was all they talked about, and I wanted that. Not because I watched the ministry and stuff, because I have watched ministries and read Bibles all my life, but when I seen people living it and happy about it and having peace and not crying and going crazy when something bad happened, I wanted it. So that's all I wanted to say. Make sure you got that word of mouth when it comes to advertising for the Lord, and don't get caught up in the pride of life. But that's it. Love y'all. Talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.